everyone, it's Marcy here from Stampin' with Marcy, and today I want to show you how easy it is to create this adorable Christmas card that is made with non-traditional Christmas colors. I used the petal pink for this card, and I used the sentiment from the Dashing Deer stamp set. This is also available as a bundle with the coordinating dies. However, I am not using the dies for today's card. I also use the buffalo check background stamp as the background here for my card. And I am using my fabulous Stamparatus. It is the best positioning tool I feel out there. So I'm going to bring that in, and I am going to take my piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I am going to line it up here. Make sure I'm fully in your view. So I'm going to line it up here on my Stamparatus with the grid paper, and I am going to take a mechanical pencil because the background stamp is going to cover the entire front. I can't use a magnet for this, so I'm just going to take my pencil and put pencil lines there and there so that I know I've got this line here, so that I can make sure if my paper shifts at all, I know that I can add, put my paper back to the exact same spot. So I'm going to take my background stamp and I am going to lay it directly over top and hope that I haven't shifted that cardstock, and hope it's down straight. And I'm going to take my one plate, put it on here, lift up, and press down. I find you need to be standing when you're using a big background stamp because you need to make sure that you are getting enough pressure everywhere. Okay, I also find that if you've got your stamp case underneath, it is going to ink up much easier. All right, so I'm going to bring in my petal pink ink, and I think I'm going to move this Stamparatus over just a little bit more. Make sure my cardstock is in the exact same position with those lines, and then take and ink up my background stamp. I do apologize if I am jiggling my camera at all. Okay, now I'm just going to close this over and give it some good even pressure. Okay, and then just lift up. And there are a few areas where I'm not quite happy, so the beautiful thing about the Stamparatus, you can go back, re-ink, make sure it looks like it's in the exact same position, it has not moved. I'm taking the sleeve so that my hand moves more freely. Just pulling it down over so that I can really give it good even all over pressure. And look at that, perfect. Okay, So let's pull this off and set it to the side. Take this off and set it to the side. Close this ink pad up for a moment. All of the measurements will be found on my blog, which you can see the address right there. Okay, so I'm doing the exact same thing. I am lining it up, only this time I can have my magnet at the bottom. So I'm lining it up, putting my magnet down there, bringing in my hinge plate, and I'm going to position this exactly where I want it. I want it down a bit and centered, and make sure that my giving it pressure so that the plate picks up the stamp. Okay, and then I am using, instead of the large classic Stampin' Pad, I'm using an uninked Stampin' Spot that I have inked up with the classic re-inker. That way, I know that I'm getting solid coverage. Let me move this over just a bit. There. That way I know I'm getting solid coverage of my sentiment. And I'm going to just make sure I've rubbed that. And there we have it. It's perfect. So then I'm going to lift up my plate, move it down one slot, and I'm going to ink it again. You can find the re-inkers and the uninked Stampin' Spots in the annual catalog. I will have a link for purchasing all of the supplies that I have used on my blog, so you can easily add them to your shopping cart. If you're in Canada and you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator that you currently work with, I would love the opportunity to earn your business. Okay. Look at how perfect that is. There is no way you would get it anywhere close to that by hand stamping that. That is why the Stamparatus is a must-have in every crafter's supply list. Okay, so now I'm going to take my Petal Pink, and I've got my little flower. I think it's supposed to be a poinsettia bloom on the A block. I tried using the Stamparatus, but for the positioning that I wanted, the hinge spots were just not quite close enough together for what I wanted. So I found that using the clear block was what was going to work best for me. So one in the center there. And I'm just eyeballing it, trying to get it as, see, it's not quite as perfectly positioned as it would be with the Stamparatus. But I am okay with that, with a little detail like that. To me, it's more important that those words are absolutely straight. And I'm trying to line up with the one above it. Okay, not too awful bad. I'm okay with that. All right, so I am now done with my Stamparatus. So I'm going to move that off to the side. And bring in everything else to create this card. I am going to start by adhering my stamped Whisper White to my Night of Navy. I'm using my favorite liquid glue. Gives me those few more seconds to get that positioning just right. And then I'm going to adhere this to my base. Now this card layout you could use for any type of card, any season with the Stamparatus. Any sentiment would work perfectly. A birthday or congratulations, anything like that is going to work quite well with the multiple stamping of the sentiment. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in my rhinestones, and I'm going to bring in my dark petal pink Stampin' Blends marker, and I'm going to color in 6 of them so that they match. The petal pink is quite light, so it is a quite subtle effect, and I really like that. It just takes that bit of brightness that the regular rhinestones have and just tones it down that tiny little bit. But it's quite quick and easy to do. Can you see the difference between those two? All right, so then I'm going to take, even though these are adhesive backed, I find that sometimes they don't have quite enough adhesive on them and they don't stick permanently. Where I live in southwestern Ontario, it is quite humid, so I want to make sure that my recipient still has their card together quite beautifully the way I intended it. So I like to add that little bit of Tombow glue just to make sure that they're going to stay put. And I'm using my Take Your Pick tool. I think this is fabulous for quickly and easily picking up those rhinestones. Look at how easy that is. With the pokey doodle end. Whoop. Runaway rhinestone. Stay put. And there's a hair on that. Okay, and now I have one more thing. I'm taking some Night of Navy gingham ribbon, and I'm going to tie this around the bottom here. That's why I did not stamp the sentiment a 4th time. Holding the center when I go to adjust it. Making sure my loops are the same size. Okay. And now I'm going to take some dimensionals. When all your dimensionals are used up in the middle, that does not mean that you are done with them. Make sure you use every single little bit. Those corners and edges are still usable. So make sure you just snip them so that you get every little bit. Okay. Take my backing off. And there you have it. I'm just going to snip those ends just a little bit more. There. So here is my original, and here is the card I created with you today. Wasn't that easy? So easy for you to mass produce with the Stamparatus. And don't forget about the Dashing Deer is available as a bundle where you save 10% when you purchase together. And the Stamparatus has its very own bag coming. So it is called the new Craft and Carry. So be sure to check out on my blog. Be sure to check that out to see. It's available for customers on December 5th. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye for now.